if your income is like how quick you're moving financially, your net worth is the direction. Are we moving in a positive or a negative way? You could be making $1 million a year and actually be ruining your financial picture. That's a negative financial direction, even though you have really positive financial income.
All right, so glad to have Zach back, and I'm going to take a minute to gush about you and a little bromance here. Over the past few years, we have had these ideas and just questions that people have had, and we've had tens of thousands of people that are so grateful to you. I'm so grateful to you because we have these ideas, and then you go and build stuff for people. So we had, I think the first one was the Social Security taxability calculator that tens of thousands of people have downloaded and are using. We had the financial professionals and how to figure out who you're working with. We had the conversation because a lot of people want to grow their wealth. And you're like, well, let's help people. And you wrote a whole book while I was on a road trip. And now there's another one where a year ago we were talking about, hey, I would like to know what my net worth is with all of my assets, my debts, and everything else. And you're like, hey, I have a spreadsheet that does that. And now this video is all about getting that to the people, this net worth calculator of sorts. So I just want to say thank you. I know a lot of my viewers thank you through me, and then obviously you get some too that come to you. So thank you for doing this, and we're going to go through this awesome tool.
You're welcome. I'm notorious for starting things and then not buttoning them up enough for other people to be able to use them. So like the Social Security taxability calculator, we've been using a version of it for quite a long time, years. But it wasn't designed for someone who doesn't already know all the rules and doesn't have a familiarity with Excel. So we have quite a few of these tools, and today's is the same. The version that I have been using, so I do this monthly when I remember, and I'm not always religious with it. Something to know, I actually do not like doing financial tracking, even though I'm a financial advisor or wealth advisor, and technically I'm now the president of the wealth advisor company, right? But I don't like the process of maintaining it. I like creating things. So this is fun for me, but I would rather create than have to track. So for me, it's all about how do I get the answer as quick as possible? And I have found a lot of software systems like budget tracking software systems and other tools, they require so many clicks that I lose patience. And I'm like, there's an easier way, there's a faster way that I can get the answer and go mountain bike or go do what I want to do with my life. So anyway, hopefully this is the quicker, easier answer for people if they're not already using some sort of software.
No, and I'm using this now that you sent it. I had my own version, but this is way better than what I use. So let's show them what it is, and then kind of after that we can go through why it matters.
Sure. Okay, the end goal is to get a net worth statement, which is basically organizing your assets, what you own, your liabilities, what you owe, and then netting those out and coming up with one number. Now, these numbers are ridiculous because we needed to be able to show a lot of different things on this call. So we're using Tony and Pepper Stark, and their net worth is a meager $12.4 million. Which for them, it really isn't a great number based on all the business ventures the Stark family has been in. But it does give a good idea. So anyway, you get this idea of you have 9 different categories that you can have your assets roll up into and 3 different debt categories. And then on the side over here, we have this little life insurance death benefits because most people don't consider those part of their net worth. But of course, if you were to pass away, they do come in and it becomes a part of the net worth that passes on. And this is meant to be an estate planning tool as well as just a current scorecard for yourself. And that's something that maybe we can talk about for just a second here. I mean, we're going to go into the why, and I'll give people 5 reasons as to why you should be doing this, why you should have a net worth statement of some type. But it all boils down to me. We were talking before that you're way into basketball. And to me, this is a lot like being on the court, playing in a basketball game, and there is literally no scorecard anywhere in the building. And you have no idea what time it is. You have no idea whether you're ahead or not. And you're just like gut feel, like, I think we've gotten more rebounds and putbacks than them. I think we're ahead. That's how a lot of people do their finances. And this actually puts a scorecard or a scoreboard that's visible. Now, the nice part is you're not competing against anybody else like you are in basketball. You are competing against yourself and your own goals.
Yeah.
But you were saying you have played in
No, this
situations
actually
like
happens
this.
because we've been having some fall tournaments. So we go to these schools and they will have a scoreboard in front of our bench up on the wall that everybody in the world can see, but it's not attached to anything. And instead, they have a little desk scoreboard that's right in line with our bench. And so any parents or anybody on the bench can't see the score. We can't see the time. And the head coach has to like peek around. All right, we got 2 minutes left and we're down by 4. And then all right, there's a minute and a half left and we're tied or whatever else it is. And so it's just like panic attack all the time because you don't know how much time is left and what is the score. And that's an important thing. And so I think the same thing here is people can have a little bit of a panic attack around their finances if they don't know. And especially in spouses, like my wife doesn't pay as much attention, but we have this conversation quarterly of like, all right, here's where we're at. And then it kind of like, oh, okay, we're doing okay.
We're doing all right. I actually create the report. I'll show you guys how to do that right now. But I create this report and give it to my wife, Michelle. And it is her ability to be able to feel comfortable and know like, oh, this is where everything is. And imagine if I passed away, having this list is so important. So it's a big deal.
Yeah.
So this is your net worth statement. If you wanted to get it to a reportable view, basically you just make it printable. So you hit print, and it's already set so that it will print just the right spots, and it will give you those 9 asset categories and your liabilities with the net worth, assets, and liability sums up at the top. And what you do is you just change the printer. Most every computer will have something called print to PDF. So for me, I'm working off of an HP. It says Microsoft Print to PDF. Hit that, and then if you hit print, it will just take it right to a save window, and you'll be able to save that as a PDF. And I do that every month. Now, I recommend you do it quarterly, but every quarter, every month, whatever it is, fill this out. And then this is me being a little bit weird, but I put it in the same folder, and I start it with the year, so 2025, and then a dash, and then the month. So 10 for 10. We're in October right now, at the end of October. So that puts it in order, and I can just hit sort by name, and I can see every single month's worth of net worth statements and whether I did it that month or not, and they're in order and it's nice and clean.
Yeah, no, that's great.
And then every time you do it, you just come in here, we'll show you how to fill it out. You update the numbers and then save as, and you're good to go. It'll be the most difficult the very first time, but even at that, I'm going to show you it's actually pretty easy to get this stuff in.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's start with that.
Okay, so when we move to the setup section here, I'm going to start with a blank version so that people can see, like, what does it look like if you just barely came in? So what you're going to do is you're going to put your own name in your first name section. Well, let me take a step back. In the setup page, you're putting in the people, you're putting in the locations where you have money, and then you are naming your categories. That's it. People, locations, categories. Then on the second tab, we're actually going to put in the various accounts you have, and then we'll assign them a person, a location, and a category.
Perfect.
And then give it a value. So in the beginning, you're going to put your own name in here. So we would put in Erik, and then Caitlin. Is that how you spell it?
Yeah.
Yes. And then OR. You got to cut that
You
out.
nailed it. You knew, though. You knew.
I knew, but I had it wrong. Okay, so I have a neighbor that's ER. Okay, so then you put in Erik and Caitlin for the spouses, and if you're a single person, just leave the partner spouse blank, and that's fine. And then you put in your last name, and it automatically puts in the three of you, which is not you and Erik and Caitlin, and then you guys together. That's what I mean by the three of you. So these are the three different standard ownership structures you guys could have. Many people have a family trust, so I'm going to put in the Soderborg family trust, and then you have the Man Games. That is, I don't even know if that's what you probably don't name it, Man Games LLC, but I'm making stuff up.
Yeah.
Erik runs something that is a really fun networking opportunity for people to get together and compete. And you have a ladies version as well, I think.
Yes.
Not discriminating.
No.
What do you call the ladies version?
Girl Games.
Girl Games. Okay. So those maybe are a couple different LLCs. And then locations you would put in if you are, I don't know this stuff about Erik. I don't want anybody thinking that this is Erik's personal financial situation. I'm making stuff up as we go. So if he said he had some bank accounts at Wells Fargo, and then he had he had investment accounts at Fidelity Investments, maybe at Vanguard, maybe at maybe he has some insurance or property and casualty insurance with Nationwide and Protective and things like that.
Like an HSA bank of some sort.
Yes. So anytime, this is something for everybody to know, anytime you're in Excel and you type in the letters HSA, it's going to autocorrect to has, and then you have to go back and change it back. But the second time, it's like, oh, you really did want that. Okay. So then let's put in HSA Bank. In here, I also think everybody should put in physical asset, partnership, or LLC. So like there's not really a location for man games and girl games LLCs. So you need to be able to designate that is a partnership or an LLC of some type. Okay, so these are examples of possible locations that you might want to put things. Then the categories are really important, and you can choose. I recommend that you just start with these, but if you want, you can change them. The only one you can't change is the other category. So anything in light blue across this whole sheet, you can tinker with as much as you want. And while we're on that note, sometimes people are like, oh, I wish this wasn't password protected. This one isn't. So this one isn't password protected. It is protected in a way. So if you want, you go to review and click on unprotect. You won't have to enter a password. You can just unprotect it. But it's protected for your own protection so that you don't mess stuff up like formulas. There's quite a bit of complex organizational stuff going on in this Excel file. So if you are an expert in Excel and you want to be able to customize this however you want, just go ahead and unprotect it, and then you'll be able to do whatever you want with it.
If you're not an expert, because I'm not an expert, and you start messing with stuff, it will start breaking things.
Leave the bowling bumper rails up.
Yes.
And that way you for sure will hit the pins. So here we go. So you get to choose. For example, the one that I could see most commonly being changed here is if you don't have any kids, you don't need kid accounts. If you're not giving to charity or you don't have charitable accounts like a donor advised fund, you don't really need a charitable giving section. So those two at the end, you could get rid of. Now, a note about those two, you might notice on the right, it says no here. This category sum is saying, hey, do you want that to be part of your net worth or not? Now, some people might say, well, if I didn't want it part of my net worth, why would I even put it on here? I still like the idea of seeing it so that if I passed away, my wife would at least know, like, oh, there's a donor advised fund over at this company. The kids have custodial accounts and Roth IRAs at these companies. Like, I want her to know about that if she needed to manage the finances, but I don't necessarily want to think that those are mine.
Yeah.
And so that no in this spot allows you to be able to see it without counting it as your own. Okay.
Going to that calculation on the first page that we said at the beginning, your net worth statement.
And what will happen is if you say, I don't want it included, then we've given you a little note here that says not included in net worth.
Perfect.
So you know, and it's pretty obvious that they're darker blue color and it won't sum whatever you put in here up to the total of assets. And you can change that for, a business ownership. That's a common one that we see flip back and forth. I personally flip it back and forth because my goal is to save enough from my employment, my regular income, that even if my equity or ownership in our wealth advisory firm, that I can set that aside and be like, wonderful. And maybe we choose to do something different than actually realize that equity at some point. Maybe we choose to slowly transition to new partners over a generation. Well, I don't want my retirement plan to be subject to, like, I don't want my need for retirement cash to impact the business decisions. So I sometimes will just say, don't sum the business equity into my overall net worth, and I'll do a spot check on how am I doing without that. And then I can throw it back in just to see how it does.
Yeah, nice.
Okay, so that's how you set up this whole thing. So basically, it's not that bad. And if you forget something, it doesn't matter because you're going to find out you forgot it on page 2. You're going to come back to page 1 and just add in a location and a possible owner, and then let's dive into data entry on section 2.
Perfect.
Okay, so let's do a couple of examples, just filling out a blank sheet, and then like a cooking class, the meal is already made. So we're gonna we're going to go look at the other example where it's already all in there.
And I want another praise for you here because I was filling this out, and on the left, people will notice these examples. And so when I was filling it initially, those were in the blue section there. And as I typed, it would eliminate some of those. So I really like having them to the left a little bit because it helps remind me, oh yeah, I do have number 12, right? I do have a direct investment somewhere, or I do have something, and once I've typed it in, it doesn't go away. So thanks for
and it's really, I've got a colleague, is a private guy, so I'll only say his first name, but Sean is amazing. And Sean is really, really good at building this out. So it has gotten so much better in the last 2 months from the version I have been using to what he was able to morph it into.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you a lot, Sean. Okay, so let's give some examples. Let's say that we have a 401, you guys have a 401k, and you can be really specific here. So you can say maybe you have one with Man Games 401k, and that category is going to be retirement. And let's say that value is $250,000, and that one is in Erik's ownership. And so the categories you give and the options you give on the setup provide drop-down menus here on the actual data entry page. And then let's say you have that set up at Fidelity Investments. Now, the nice part about this is, let's say that you also have, I'm going to give you an example. Let's say you have Erik Roth IRA, and then that's also a retirement account. And then we're going to say that there's, again, making so much up here, but we're going to say $100,000 in Erik's Roth IRA. Let's also say that one is with Fidelity. And then I'm going to say that let's do primary residence. So this one is a little bit different, right? So it's the primary residence, and in category, we're going to pick real estate. And then value, let's say that it's worth $850,000. And a couple important things here. I'm not netting out a mortgage right here. Don't in the individual assets, don't net those things out. You list the full value of the house, what it would sell for, and then let's say that you have it in your own names. Now, most cases, people should be putting that in a trust to avoid probate. But if you look it up and you find out, oh, this is in our own name, this is one of the reasons you do this exercise, because you find out, we still haven't done that. We got to get this thing in the name of the trust. Now, it's a physical asset. So I'm going to put it in as a physical asset for custodian rather than it's not like your home is sitting at Charles Schwab.
Right.
So now we want to put in the mortgage on that if you have one. So I'm going to put primary residence mortgage. And let's say, so now under category, we're going to go to the debt, and there's 3 debt categories. We'll pick mortgage, and let's say it's $250,000 worth of debt. Okay, so this is going to be our first little warning. This is the stuff Sean figures out.
Here's a guardrail.
That's exactly right. Here's your guardrail. It's telling you, hey, first thing it says, a category can't be blank. It's like, well, I don't have a blank category. Great. So we know that's not the problem. Liabilities must be negative. That's it. I put it in as a positive number, so it's got to be a negative. And then assets must be positive, and but only cash value of life insurance may be 0. So I'm going to retry. I'm going to make that number a negative number, and it likes it. And let's say that mortgage is just in your name for whatever reason, because it was easier to get or quicker or something like that. And we look here and we're like, oh, I don't have the mortgage company. That's okay. I'm going to go back to setup. I'm going to put mortgage company ABC in there, back to data entry, and it'll now show up as one of my options that are available. Now, one of the things I wanted to show you is it does not matter in what order you put this. That's one of my frustrations with some tools, is they force you to be so organized before you even start that it's like, well, if I was that organized before I started, I didn't need this tool.
You already have it all.
Yeah, exactly. I already have it somewhere else. So like right now you might say, oh, I have another Roth IRA. I forgot about that. It's a smaller one. It's only $15,000 and it's at a different place. And let's say that it's with Vanguard. So here we have your Roth IRA listed twice, and that's okay. And then on the net worth statement, it's going to sum all of it up based on the name. So if it is written exactly the same, Erik Roth IRA, it'll sum all of it up together.
And then if it was a different Erik's second Roth IRA, then that would be a new
let's do that
line.
So if you want it to be different like that, we're going to say Erik's second Roth IRA. And sure enough, there you go. It's going to break it apart.
Another account that I had a question on was like an HSA and handling that. We were talking a little bit offline of that.
Yeah.
So like if an HSA goes in here.
So let's say that was in your wife's name. And you don't have to put their name in here, but it's just whatever makes it so it's really easy for you to see. So I'm going to type in HSA twice. And okay. So the question is, how do you think about your HSA? Are you using it as a regular tool to pay off cash flow or pay off medical expenses? Or are you leaving it alone and saving it for retirement?
Yeah, and one of the biggest videos on this channel talks about how I look at an HSA as a retirement account. And so I've got it invested and I'm not touching the majority of the balance. And I have a little bit amount in cash because a lot of custodians require that you have a minimum balance.
So this can be confusing because there's a cash category, there's a retirement category, and then there's an other category. Mm-hmm. For cash in particular, we are talking about literal like cash money market type accounts, savings, checking, things like that only. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't put an HSA in cash even if your entire HSA is sitting in cash. Yeah. You're thinking about what is the account's purpose, not necessarily what is the investment mix. This tool is not designed to be an asset allocation analyzer. Mm-hmm. This thing is just showing you what you have, where it is, and how much is in it. So cash is not the answer for an HSA, even if you're sitting in cash. Second, the way you think about it, I would put it in as a retirement account.
But that's not how a lot of people think about it. And
no,
that's okay.
A lot of people use it because they need it. Like the reality of life is that people need it. And so then they may be putting money into it and they may be flushing almost all of it back out every year to cover their actual medical expenses of those years. In that case, I would put other. Okay. And then let's say that there's $5,000 because they are putting it in and pulling it out pretty quickly. In that case, then that one's in Caitlin's name, and I'm making HSA Bank here. So now, because it's in other, it shows up right here. Now, in this case, one might say, well, that's a revolving door. I don't really want that to show up as part of my net worth. In that case, I would turn other off. Yeah. And now it's not included. Now, the little note here, it does put the cash value of insurance included, but other assets won't be. Okay. That's data entry. Let's maybe hop over into...
Can you do one on insurance, like life insurance real quick?
Good idea.
For that?
For sure. Okay, so let's say...
Because there's two, there's more, but there's generally two types of life insurance that people are dealing with here, with term and then whole or the other.
Permanent. They have different components to them. Permanent has what's called a cash value or an actual value of the investment. Term doesn't have any investment value. It just has death benefit. Okay. And because permanent life insurance has two values, cash value and death benefit, it has to be handled a little bit differently in here. So let's say that Erik term, and this is where I might even, just for your own sake, say put in something to help you remember 15 years or just something that helps you. We'll pick life insurance. As soon as you pick life insurance, it's going to start giving you some warnings. And it's going to say the cash value goes here. The cash value on term is 0. Mm-hmm. I mean, there may be a weird policy out there I don't know about, but like term life insurance has you can't withdraw funds from it and walk away with funds if you decide to stop paying into it. So we're not going to put anything in there. We're just going to say it's 0 for term life insurance. Then there is a death benefit, though, so we want to make sure, let's say that was with Nationwide, and over here on the right is where the death benefit goes. Now, if you don't think to go over there is, over here on the special instructions, it's telling you, put the death benefit in column K. So you'd scroll over here to column K, and let's say that was $500,000 of death benefit. You're set. So let's say that you had whole life insurance, or let's say Caitlin has whole life insurance. So same category, life insurance. And here she has, let's say, a $25,000 cash value. And she is the owner. We'll say that's with Nationwide as well. And then, actually, I'm going to make that one with Protective, just to give a little variety on the last page. And then let's say that has a $250,000 death benefit. That's it. Let's say that you have a private equity investment that you've done, like some sort of direct deal I'm going to give two different versions, a private equity fund and then a direct business that you've purchased. So a private equity deal of some type, let's say were given the opportunity to buy into this tiny little startup that because one of your friends or whatever, and by the way, these are oftentimes extremely risky and go to zero, but just throwing that out there, let's say you did it anyway.
Just might work for me.
And then, so you're going to put in, let's call it risky LLC is what you decided to buy. And then in this case, that is, you need to think about how, I'm going to talk a little bit about two different options here, general investment or business ownership. Personally, I call business ownership like self-employed business ownership. So even though this is a business, I would probably put that in general investment rather than business ownership. I'll explain why here in a second. Let's say Man Games just took off and was so amazing that the business itself was worth $2 million. That's business ownership in my mind. That's the difference, because you are running Man Games. You are investing in Risky LLC.
Gotcha.
So I'm going to put in, you've got a $2 million value in Man Games.
If Man Games starts getting all these hits because of this video,
I would love that. I would love that. You might have tried.
It is not built to grow. It is a very small.
I was just going to say, you might be trying to kill that whole operation, and I'm like reviving it. But okay, so let's say that is owned by you together, the Risky LLC, and then let's say that Man Games is just in your name. Okay, so now we're to partnership and LLC is the custodian or location. Like how this thing exists is typically in an operating agreement or partnership agreement that says you are a certain owner of a certain percentage of this LLC. It's not held at a particular institution. So we're going to click on partner LLC for both of those. Now, the reason I like to separate general investment versus business ownership is even the third category would be private equity fund ABC. So this would be a fund that's not purchased through Fidelity, a Schwab, a Vanguard, an E-Trade, or anything like that. It's a fund that you subscribe to personally. These usually have a $250,000 to $500,000 minimum investment, and they have fees of 2% plus 20% of the growth. Like there's totally different rules associated with it, and you have to be a certain level of investor with certain income. So throwing that all out there, but the people who are aware of these know what they are. I would put that as a general investment. And let's say you put that $500,000 minimum in, and we did that in the name of the trust. And this is also a partnership or LLC. Okay, so the reason that I've separated these three as two are general investment and one is business ownership is because you now can easily see the difference right here between your general investments and your business ownership. Like this is you. Business ownership is you running this extremely successful Man Games LLC. And
newly extremely successful.
Retirement Nerd sponsored LLC. Okay, so then general investment is just money that you're hoping works passively for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Then one thing on this net worth statement for people to understand is you can tinker with this. Let's say you really want this general investment up here and not right there. And so you can do that. You can put general investment. Now it looks like I've broken it. That's okay. What it's saying is, hey, you can't have general investment twice. It's going to duplicate that section in your net worth. And so it says fix errors, but we're not going to accidentally get the assets and liabilities wrong. So we know general investment is listed twice, but we don't necessarily know which one is not listed. So right here, it tells you cash is not listed. Asset category is not selected for a net worth statement. So I just put general investments in the cash spot. So I would need to come down here and change that one back to cash, and it'll get rid of all those issues, start calculating the net worth again, and you can move these around as much as you'd like. Now, something also to know is that we have 4 categories here without any entry. So that might help you remember, like, okay, well, I don't really need charitable giving or kids or personal items. Personal items, let's talk about that really quick, and then let's go to the full sheet. So if you own a truck, which Erik does. So if you said, hey, how would I list the value of my truck? then that is a personal item. And let's say it's a beater and it's worth $8,000 now, and it's the truck you take to the dump that you
Love
need. Okay, so truck, personal items, it's worth $8,000. How is it owned? Say it's just in your name, and then here we would say it's a physical asset.
Perfect. And then in the idea of like, if I own a business, and I think you're going to get into Tony and Pepper Stark of if a business owns a truck as an example, then you could throw that into the ownership of Man Games LLC.
Yeah, exactly. Right here.
If
That truck was a tool used for Man Games LLC, you could do that. Now, the bigger your business becomes, the more you're just going to want to think about all the assets of the business as well as its goodwill, its value, its contracts, it's all of it, like as a total valuation of the business. So like for our firm, I'm not thinking about all the furniture.
Yeah.
We have a lot of desks, a lot of computers, a lot of things that are not that helpful from a valuation standpoint, couches and stuff like that for people that wait in waiting rooms and all that. Printers. I'm not listing all those things here.
Yeah.
I'm just saying the whole thing is worth about this amount. And our real value is in our relationships and an ongoing brand and reputation. So I'm just going to put all that as one value, and then my equity in it, my percentage in it is what I put in for my equity in that business. So could you put that in? Sure. If you have a very small business or it's like a solopreneur type business where you're all by yourself, like doing consulting, and you do have a couple assets, sure, go ahead and list them. Okay. Should we jump over to the Starks?
Let's do it.
Okay. Let's see if we missed anything
Theirs
here.
looks much better off than mine.
You know, if you can build net worth in a matter of 15 minutes of $3.6 million.
You're right. We're crushing it.
Pretty great.
That is not accurate.
Okay. We keep saying that. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about anything in this list. So I've filled out a lot here so that people can see different examples. But in the Stark family, they have a few more ownership structures. They have their trust. They have Stark Enterprises. Morgan is their biological daughter. They adopted Peter Parker and Groot. So we have 3 kids. I think I kept categories the same. Locations didn't matter that much. It's about the same. Erik, what should we cover on this list that's different?
You know, I think like as I look through it immediately, you have kids accounts that are going to be a little bit different with the UTMA and then the college savings. And so as we had mentioned at the very beginning, like you may or may not include this in your overall net worth. But in this example, there are kids accounts that are being involved here. And I like to look at that because we have some accounts set up for my kids that just are kind of off and they're hopefully growing. And then when they reach a certain age, it'll be kind of like a surprise for them unless they watch this video. Now they know. But to be able to track that in a way like this, I think is valuable.
Yeah, for sure. Let's go through those in particular. So he set up custodial accounts. That UTMA is another name, Uniform Transfer to Minor Act, or Uniform Gift. So UGMA, UTMA. Those are the fancy acronyms for that's a custodial account. And that's a fancy way of saying that's a brokerage account for a kid. Yeah. That's it. That's all it is, with an adult tagged onto it as the custodian so that they can manage it. So that's what they have here. And then we have college savings. Typically, that would be like a 529 account. Some people use UTMAs or custodial accounts for college. That might be something to talk about in the future. I have some strong opinions about the various college savings options.
We just found our new episode.
There you go. So custodial accounts, college savings, maybe 529s, all listed under kids. And I like to put their name here instead of just college savings, because if you just put college savings, it's going to lump all 75,000 together. Mm-hmm. But if we list it out separately like that, when we get to the kids section here, it will show us each person's UTMA and each person's savings account.
I also think like credit card debt is something that's pretty common in the world. So you've got that listed there as well and marked it as debt and high interest.
Yeah, I mean, I can't believe Tony has it, but we've got $15,000 listed here. And that's important to differentiate the types of debt, because this is now how you start to think about, well, how do I make my financial situation better? So we've listed $15,000 of high interest debt. We've listed $50,000 he still owns on the Mark V Ironman suit, $75,000 on a car loan, and then it's going to break all those apart as well as the primary mortgage. So you come over here to the debt categories, and we can see there's $500,000 worth of mortgage. That's probably at a really good rate. So I'm not as stressed about that $500,000 as I am about this greater than 10% credit card debt at $15,000. Like if he's sitting with cash over here in the bank account of $100,000, why not take 15 of it and just knock that out? You're not earning 10% on the cash.
And I think the usefulness of this in the data entry is that might be something in the notes that you've got set aside there, is if you want to put your interest rate, or even in the title of it, so you could see the interest rate. So that optional note of, okay, my interest rate on my home is 3% versus the credit card is 22% or whatever, So you can just help. This is however you want to use it, whoever's downloading this. Just my brain goes to I'd like to see what the percentages I have for this debt would be.
This is the one section that's not light blue that you edit.
Yeah.
But we just wanted to call it out as it's optional. It's not critical to getting this thing to work. I like to, in my own version, I actually have another column with the username. So I have the website and the username and an optional note on every single line. And that way especially, I'm thinking about this, if I died, my wife would need to come to the most recent version of this, click on the website, know the username, and start to work through every asset that she would need to.
You're very kind to think of your wife for that reason. But I feel the same way. That's why I started mine, right? Is she doesn't want to deal with this stuff. Others are a little bit more involved in this stuff. But to have this for her again, if something happens, now you know where stuff is and how to get it. And our trust helps with that too.
Yeah, I have some different perspectives. This is something to talk about someday. I have some different perspectives on money and life because I've been through different type of cancer, not an extremely risky type, but been through a type that subjected me to quite a bit of radiation to help get rid of it. So I don't know if I'm going to have this 60-year-old to 90-year-old retirement. To me, I feel like I'm flipping a coin if I make it to 70 or make it to 85 or 90. And that's most people have a much higher probability, in my opinion, than what I feel like I have. And I feel like I'm healthy other than that. So I'm trying my very best, but I'm not going to, my goal is save enough and enjoy the rest and live life in a way that I'm not completely waiting for retirement. So save enough that I can be safe and have a good retirement, but I'm not this financial independence, retire early. I like what I do for work. So I have to find balance in that where I like this. So I need to just save enough and then enjoy life in the meantime, because who knows, I might not make it to more than 70 or something like that. So I just think differently about it. And that's what makes me think about organizing this well for my wife. Okay, going back to the entry here. So there were a couple other things. We mentioned vehicles. You can list them all out individually. You could sum them all up. If you're just I just want to know how much they're all worth, totally up to you. We talked about general investments, business ownership, HSAs, life insurance.
Charitable giving, you talked about DAFs. We have a video on DAFs, but that's something there that just to point out for people who may be involved in charitable giving. Yeah.
A donor advised fund is a charitable account that allows you to get a deduction when you put money into it, but you don't have to grant it to other charities right away. That's the shortest I think I've ever explained a donor advised fund.
We have a 50-minute video.
That's exactly right. It is a very wonderful tool for separating the tax benefits of charitable giving from the actual cash giving to the end charity. When normally those things are coupled together, and a DAF slides right in between them and separates them. And it makes it very useful if you're trying to double up charitable donations in a year but keep your giving consistent, or you don't even know who you're giving to. So knowing that you may have money that hits the donor advised fund but doesn't immediately get distributed, that's what we're talking about here. You're not tracking what you've already given away to charities. What we're doing with this is we're tracking, is there a value inside your donor advised fund that you could give away if you wanted to, but it's no longer part of your net worth necessarily.
I think that's important, right? Because when you talk about marking that as showing up on your net worth or not, once you put that into the DAF, is that something that you can easily just take back and say, okay, now I want to use it to buy a car?
Nope.
Once it's in there, you're kind of...
Yeah, that's why they give you a deduction for the charitable gift, because it's truly a charitable gift. It can stay inside that charity. A donor advised fund is a charity, and you have this little teeny account within the charity. And big firms like Fidelity and Schwab and AEF, and there are a lot of other big firms out there. We have one locally in Utah called University Impact that I like a lot. So anyway, there are multiple donor advised fund providers, but they are set up as a 501c3 charity, and you just are an account, kind of a director of a piece of it. Not it's not your money anymore.
Gotcha.
So it can stay there though.
Yeah.
So some people think that's really nice because they can put money in and grow it for forever, and then start to create like an endowment almost that they can just give the interest away in the future. So there are a lot of really cool use cases for it. For people who have IRAs, when they die and they know they want to give to charities, like maybe they have 10 charities that they love, they can list one donor advised fund on as the beneficiary of their IRA, and maybe they have 6 IRAs. They just list the one donor advised fund on all of them. And then if they pass away, all of it funnels to the DAF and then goes to the 10 charities. And if one of the charities makes them angry and they don't like them anymore, they can get rid of it from the DAF instructions and add a new one. And they don't have to go to every single IRA and update beneficiaries. So there's some cool organization there as well. Okay, that's a donor advised fund. That's like a digital asset, Bitcoin. I would put that in other. Put in Coinbase for the location on that one. Okay, let's go into the net worth statement and show more functionality. So we already talked about being able to change the category order and what you want there. We've talked about debt and mortgages. And then we talked about life insurance here. This was printable, and it will show you the net worth assets and all of that. So
can I ask your opinion on something? I've always thought like a millionaire is somebody whose net worth is $1 million or more. And then other people have a definition of your income is $1 million or more a year. How do you answer that one?
The standard definition, this is not my definition. I think this is the standard definition is your net worth number. This number in the top left of this statement, if it's over $1 million, you're technically a millionaire. Okay. If you were to go to every asset you have, sell it, and then take the cash and go to every debt you have, pay off all the debt, and then you're left over with whatever's left. That is your net worth. And in that case, if you're left over with $1 million, you're technically a millionaire.
I had a disagreement with a friend on this, and
really?
I have that same definition, but they had a different definition of your income. Your annual income had to be $1 million.
No one says that.
That's impressive.
Yeah, making $1 million a year, you better be a multimillionaire if that's the case. Like that's a lot of money unless you just barely started making $1 million a year. A lot of people become millionaires on sometimes even less than $100,000 a year of income because they are prudent and careful and patient and they don't rack up debt. They can do it. A lot of people. Now, for most people who are trying, let's say someone in their 30s and 40s, a millionaire is not your target. No way. Like you need multiple millions to retire. Now, there are many people that retire today on $1 million because they may have really solid pensions or Social Security, and they only need to withdraw $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 from their retirement accounts. That's fine. They can easily do that with $1 million in their retirement accounts. But that's not going to work for us. Yeah. I say us just because of our age, not because we're greedy. But based on our age, you're going to need more than that.
Sounds like you're calling me high maintenance.
That's exactly. So. Erik is the least high maintenance person that I know. Okay, I want to go through some of now that we've seen it and we've talked about how to make it, how to create it. So we've talked about the financial scorecard.
Yes.
That's number one.
Why we need that? Why would somebody would want this whole tool to begin with?
Yeah, I mean, if your income is like how quick you're moving financially, your net worth is the direction. Like, are we moving in a positive or a negative way? You could be making $1 million a year and actually be ruining your financial picture by taking on too much debt and spending it all and losing it all to taxes. That's a negative financial direction, even though you have really positive financial income.
And this is a very real thing. I know you see it a lot. I see it as well on the Medicare side as we're planning for stuff, is we will have doctors who had very high earnings throughout their career, but so much of that either went to paying off the debt or they got into that lifestyle of I've lived frugally for so long that once they got it, they just spent it all. And the retirement nest egg is not there. Or attorneys are all these like low net worth, high income individuals. So that does happen. And that is something that I think is important for people to see this is like, what direction are you going, even if you have high salary?
Yeah. Medical professionals in particular, dentists and doctors and those that take on a lot of student debt and then end up with high income as a result of it are some of the most tricky financial plans to create and save and hit a good retirement number. It's almost easier for someone making $100,000, $200,000 a year early to hit the right retirement target than somebody who makes $400,000 or $500,000 but only has half the earning career to be able to save because the first half they were knocking out student debt and doing other things.
Yeah.
And then you're right, once they get done with the student debt, it almost feels like, well, I deserve to be able to spend all of this now. And the habits of saving didn't start 15 years ago, so it's harder to instill them at that moment. Okay, so it's your financial scoreboard. Income is your financial speed. Your net worth is the direction. And then the most important thing, one of the most important things, number 2, is it connects the dots between assets and debts. So if you just take on an insane amount of debt to then buy and buy and buy more assets, you may be like, that's one of the best things about real estate is that you can borrow to buy, right? And you can leverage yourself to be able to grow really well. However, that takes on risk that easily, like if you only own 10% or 20% of a property and it loses 30%, you're actually in negative net worth on that property, right? So that's the risk. You've lost 150% of your investment because of that. Now, I'm not saying real estate is bad. I actually think it's fantastic. It's been proven to work really well, has a lot of good tax benefits. But the point is, this net worth will connect the dots between assets and debts and show you if you're managing it well. If you, that example of I've got a lot of cash and I'm sitting with credit card debt, that's not proper management of your liquid resource of cash. So it'll show it on the net worth statement and connect that dot for you. So it's basically showing you what you own, what you owe, and what's left over in the end. So it's going to transform guesswork into strategy. So your ability to see the whole picture will help you know if it's not like we're playing in that basketball game wondering like, should I call timeout or not? Are we 3 seconds left or are we 4 minutes left? I don't know, right? So without a net worth statement, financial planning is just kind of hope. You're just hoping that I'm getting to the right spot, and it's just hard. Okay, and also it tracks progress over time. If you create this process where you log it, you save it, I am amazed at how every once in a while I'll feel like, gosh, I'm not saving enough. How come I'm not growing faster? And then I'll look back a couple years and think, holy cow, that's what it was a couple years ago. This is great. There's some positive feeling associated with the progress when you actually can measure it. It's hard to notice the difference in yourself. So that progress over time and being able to see trends. So basically your financial net worth statement is your before and after photo. No one likes to take a before picture, but your first one is your before picture. So don't beat yourself up over it. That's just, in fact, the worse the before picture is, the more improvement opportunity you have, right? Later. The better you look later. So don't beat yourself up over the before picture. Just get it logged so you can start working on the after. And then we talked about this a little bit, but number 5, it reveals leverage and risk. So it's showing you like how exposed am I relative to my assets. And debt's okay as long as it's building net worth. So you have to be able to counter that with assets. And it's basically an X-ray to show you what's strong and what's fractured.
Yeah. No, I love this. And then you have the chart section built out that I think will help reveal all of these things that you've talked about. And maybe you can kind of point through what is this chart showing and what do you see with this chart of how Tony and Pepper are organized?
So in terms of those 5 things, understanding your net worth and having a really good X-ray into it and taking the guesswork out, connecting assets and debts, all of that, tracking progress. We're going to look at these charts on the 4th tab, and each one is going to tell us a little bit different things, I should say. There are instructions on how to read the chart. So if you can zoom in far enough, because it's small font, but it shows you like asset type, and these as well are changeable. You can put whatever charts in that we've created out of the 4 or 5 in whatever order you want. Assets by type and account will just show you how much is in literally each account structure. This is helpful. I'm not as concerned about this one. It's just kind of nice to know, like, okay, in this case, Stark Enterprises equity, that's the biggest thing. I usually look at the top 3 or 4 or 5, and we can see their LLC, and it makes sense to me that Pepper would have this prudent portfolio off to the side that she's carefully managing. That's the second biggest thing. And Ironworks LLC is the third biggest thing. And then they have a second home and all of that. You get the idea. It's just nice to see what your top 5 or 6 items are, what's really driving your net worth. Debts by category. One thing, this chart looks a little different, right? It has a lot of white. The white is their assets.
Okay.
So the reason we did that is I didn't want to have a full pie chart and make it look like their debts are as big as their assets. If it's half white and half colored, that means you basically have a 0 net worth, right? Because everything is equaling each other out. But it's important to look at your biggest debts, mortgage, and relative, like how much high interest and middle or moderate, general debt there is. This is just we've talked about this. I have the 7 prosperity projects. I've got exact orders as to what you should do and how to tackle debt and which types.
It's right over there if people want to.
I get out of the way. No, there's a book over there somewhere. The 7 Prosperity Projects is the book I wrote that specifically puts every decision in the right order for you. It's not the only order. It is an order that will work.
Yeah.
So people get rich and do really well in many different ways, but this is a prudent way to minimize risk. So that's the debt section. Okay, assets by category. This is where I start to almost learn things about my own finances a little bit, where I say, how much have I saved for retirement in particular? That's this light color. How much of it is in the business ownership? So for me, those things matter, I think, because I talked about it earlier in this session right here where I'm thinking, set the business ownership aside. How am I doing on my own retirement and general investment savings? Set my home equity aside. And a lot of people end up with a lot of equity in their primary residence, sometimes more so than they have in retirement savings. So to me, this chart helps you see the strength of your retirement portfolio and how much of your overall net worth is because you own a home versus because you've saved.
This might be a topic for another video, but I hear that a lot from retirees too, of my retirement plan is my equity in my home. And so whether that's going to be a reverse mortgage or sell it and downsize, that is a conversation that comes through my world quite a bit, is my retirement plan is my home, which everybody has their own way of doing things. My goal is not to have my retirement be my home.
Yeah, most people, we have 2,800 households. I don't talk to all of them. I don't know all the details, but anecdotally, my feeling is that very few people end up using the equity in their home for their own cash flow purposes.
Right.
They end up passing it on to others. And it can be a little bit tricky to do that, to count on it. Because even the people who say, we're going to downsize, they usually downsize the square footage, but not downsize the price. So they buy a home that's newer, better layout, nicer, more amenities to help them in their older age. And all of that stuff costs the same as what they sold their old home for. And they have half as much square footage or something. And it's normal, and that's fine. But that means that wasn't a cash liquid asset that you were able to achieve to be able to spend on a weekly basis or whatever it is. Okay, assets by owner. This starts to lead into estate planning. So right here, I'm thinking this dark color, Tony and Pepper Stark. Well, wait a second. So we have joint assets of some type. Are any of those assets that we should have put in the trust? Maybe. So that's when you go back to the list and start to say, what is it? How is it set up? And should I have put that in the trust name or not?
Which our friend Jim Birch, who does these estate planning videos on the channel as well, says the number one problem people have with their trust is not funding it. So this could be an opportunity to say, hey, maybe there's some assets there that we haven't funded our trust with, and that can help trigger that, get it over into there.
Yeah, I agree. It's interesting. For whatever reason, if I use the verbiage fund it, people don't understand because they're like, I got to take all my stuff and then drop it in a new account. It's like, no, you don't have to fund it. You just have to name the trust on the asset that's already there. And people don't think that they can fund something with their home. You're funding it, but you're not really, right? You're just re-registering it is what it's called, but that's not an easy term either. You're just naming it to be owned by the trust, the house. The house stays where it is. So a lot of attorneys will use that funding word, but I feel like sometimes us normal people, it's easier to understand. I'm just renaming things. Okay. So have you renamed it the right way so that it's owned by the right thing? And how much equity is within Stark Enterprises versus Tony and Pepper? For people who have large estates, I'm talking $15 million for an individual and $30 million for a couple. or if they're on track to hit those lines, then they should be looking very carefully at this, because if they were to pass away, they will be paying a massive chunk away in estate taxes. And that's not everybody. I know it's not a lot of listeners, but it is something that a tool like this can help them understand where things sit. And then lastly, this is asset by location. So this will show you where things are, and we can see, okay, we have a lot of money in partnership or LLCs based on the self-employed business as well as other businesses they purchased. And then they're sitting with a bunch in Schwab, physical assets, Fidelity, Coinbase. If your chart goes really wide, that means you might be unnecessarily across many institutions. There is risk in being too concentrated maybe in a few institutions, but the reality is not the risk people think.
Yeah.
So some people think, oh, I'm diversifying my investments by having money at both Fidelity and Schwab. That's kind of like buying the same, like Apple stock. You could buy it at both companies, right? And you have the same market risk in both scenarios. It's kind of like going to, here in Utah, we have Harmons and Smith's, and buying the same 1% milk at both places to diversify your purchase. Yeah. You're ending up with the same exact product in the end, right? The difference is the custodian. Like, is the custodian safe? Do they have protections? Do they have insurance? That type of thing. But so some people have overly complex asset structures because of how many different places they have things.
Yeah.
Admittedly, I fall into that because, like bank accounts, it's kind of a pain to close them and end up with one for a car loan or something, or one for the kids' accounts and one for got 3 or 4 or 5 different banks that I'm moving money around.
Yeah.
Okay, last thing. I think this is the last thing. There's a little secret button up here that says Show Details on the Charts tab. I like this a lot because it takes each chart and lists out what's feeding into it. So Stark Enterprises equity, it's kind of hard to tell exactly in this chart on the left how big that pie is, how big that slice of the pie is. And when you click Show Details, it shows you the exact amounts.
I think this is awesome. And as I was thinking through this one, just personally, I think this is great for me to get that snapshot of how I'm doing, where I'm going, the direction, the speed, all of it. I think that we talked about this on our last video, is we tend to see 3 general categories of people who watch these videos. The first is the DIY crowd that is trying to do everything themselves. They feel like they're armed and they have the knowledge to do all of this themselves with what is going on. And so I think that the DIY group will benefit from this if they don't have something like this already. The second is they are working with a financial advisor that is not you. And so I think that this gives them something to go to their financial advisor with. And I think any financial advisor would just be crying with joy if their client came to them with this. The one thing I'd just be cautious of is in that note section, if you're putting usernames and passwords.
Yeah, don't put that in if you're giving it to anybody else.
Giving it to anybody else.
Yeah.
And then the third group is the people that do want to reach out. They listen to you, Zach, and they feel like, hey, I like how he approaches this conversation. I like to work with his team. Similar thing there. If they want to use this, coming to that initial meeting with this makes that meeting, in my mind, so much more efficient and effective for your group to be able to look at that and say, okay, I can immediately spot a few things where we can help, or you look great and there's not too much value here that we could bring.
We're literally trying to do this while you're talking to us most of the time. Yeah. You're telling us random facts, and we're, put that one there. Put that one there. And we're constantly trying to pull it all together really quickly as our prospective clients are talking to us. So if you are willing to fill this thing out, that would be amazing. Mm-hmm. That would be super helpful in that conversation. We could have ideas before we even talk to you the very first time. It's not required that someone fills this out to talk to us. We can handle that. I think sometimes people get intimidated and don't want to talk to a financial professional because it feels like a lot of work. Mm-hmm. So if this stops you from getting help, or this stops you from being financially successful, don't fill this out before talking to us. Just call us. We'll talk to you. But if you're willing and this is helpful to you, fill it out. Send it over to us. We'll definitely have it ready to go, and that'll get us moving a lot quicker into advice for you a lot quicker. I hope this is helpful. I think this is the beginning. This is the very beginning. If you learn the material of the Certified Financial Planner, to become a CFP, there are a couple core things that you do very first, and understanding your current situation of a client is one. And in particular, that gets broken down into cash flow, what is the income and expense situation for that family, and net worth. What do they have and what do they owe?
Yeah.
If you know how much they make, how much they spend, what they have and what they owe, you now have the framework or the foundation to at least talk about financial moves that they could make that would improve their situation. Without it, you can't.
And I love this, how it ties into so many of the videos we've done. Like you just go to Social Security planning, right? And when should I take Social Security? Like this helps you look at, okay, what assets and income do you potentially have coming in that makes sense of when you should take Social Security? What does your spousal situation look like? What do your assets look like? Like that retirement conversation that is completely not what we talked about today, this net worth tool can help with that. Or Roth conversions or any of the stuff that we talk about, having this picture helps people, especially as you're getting ready for retirement, figure out what's going on. And then if you're using an advisor, it even makes it more crystal clear, I think, in the end.
Right. You got it.
You're awesome. Thank you for taking this time. We're going to have this available for everybody to download. You can also go to ZACC'S channel to watch more on this in particular or other topics with this. Ours take a little bit longer because I ask you questions and I kind of grill you on things.
It's all good. They made it this far. They got everything that I talked about in the 15-minute video that I did.
Do you want to leave a secret code?
Yeah. What if we said, like, net worth, what if we said they just have to say worth it? Like it's worth it.
Ooh, worth it. Perfect.
Yeah. So put in worth it in the comments, and that way Erik knows that you actually made it this far.
Seriously, sincerely, I thank you for all that you have done for me with this on the channel and then for anybody who downloads this. So thank you, Zach.
You bet. Absolutely.